Well, hello, friends and neighbors. John, your whiskey neighbor here. Welcome out to the deck for another look at a peated or Scotch whiskey. This, I think, will be the final in this short series of affordable peated or smoky Scotches. And today we're going to look at a cask strength. So this is an independent bottler. This doesn't represent a distillery that you'll be able to find or visit. But this will be some thoughts on Finlaggan. They're 58%, or they call it cask strength peated Scotch.
3, 4.
Thanks for staying with me through the break. As I said, I've been shooting a few very affordable smoky or peated Scotches, really in the $25 to $35 range. So really, really affordable in my area. This is more. This is actually, for me, it's around a $60 bottle, which is a fair price to pay. And really, I didn't know if I wanted to include it in the value Scotch, but it is 58% single malt from Islay. So, I definitely think it sits in the value category. It's not, really affordable, but for the strength and, some other thoughts about it here, I think it deserves a place in a value cabinet. So, is it any good? And what Scotch is it? Maybe after we sip, I'll play around in that controversy, but you can just do a little Google searching and it's a huge controversy. Not controversy. Fun topic to dig around and try to guess, hey, what distillery is this? But all I know is that it does say that it is an Islay single malt Scotch. So it's from one distillery. It's not a blend of different distilleries. It's 58%. It's put out by the Vintage Malt Whiskey Company out of Glasgow. It doesn't say, so even at that strength, it could be filtered. It's very likely colored. Especially because it has no age stamp, so they're probably putting some color in there to help us think, oh, it must be older. Look at all that it's picked up out of barrels. Let's talk Scotch, and then we can play around with some thoughts from searches or other conversations. A good dose of smoke and peat. It's fairly ashy peat on the nose for me. Definitely has a mineral water quality to it that comes up quick. So maybe that's on the edge of iodine. Stick through it, you're going to get a sweetness. A little bit of a mealy sweetness, so maybe that's a bit of a pear sweetness for me. But sweet, fair amount of smoke, a little bit of mineral quality. It's kind of where the nose sits. Let's have a sip. Sláinte. It's got some nice coating to it. Like, I took a pretty healthy sip for 58%, but was able to keep it around in the mouth because it has a nice edge to oil to it. A bit of oil to it. Sweetness kind of backs off to a bit more generic sweetness. And then, you get a biting peat. Now this is early finish talk, so let's get back in the palate. It's little bit salty, maybe. Definite some iodine comes through. Peat is the main part. There's a sweetness, like it's a sweet malt, but peat is the conversation. The finish for me fades right back into campfire ash. Little bit of burnt barbecue. It's not a real rich, meaty, like a barbecue saucy, juicy kind of barbecue, but a little bit of that, that coal, that older barbecue. And as often the case when I'm sampling with you guys, that second sip is more enjoyable. Definitely brought out, a little bit of vanilla, light caramel. Not much, but just a little bit bit of some of those toffee flavors that I was hoping to find earlier. No doubt this is, ex-bourbon or refill casks even. It feels pretty tired. If there's any ex-sherry in here, it really has lost its voice. To me, it tastes like a second, third fill ex-bourbon maturation. Tastes young. Of course, it's aggressive at 58, but I would be shocked to find anything older than 8 years in here. It just has that nature. Is it good? I don't mind it. I certainly like it more than the last one we looked at, the Islay Storm. Could be that I tend to like stronger whiskeys, right? And that one's 40%. I'll try a bit more with water maybe at the end of the video here. But at 58%, it's a good value. It really critically doesn't get off. Maybe 3.5, 3 3/4. I could go 3 3/4. I can't get into the 4-star range on this one. I just can't. Even though I know, reading comments, that some people love this Scotch. I don't love it, but I like it. It's good. Full of peat though. If you don't like peat, I wouldn't make this your first journey. So that's my thoughts on Finlaggan. Maybe I'll get in the controversy at the end so you can skip it if you don't want to. Because I do want to compare it to another Scotch, but honestly, it's an unfair comparison. I went to the cabinet to see what do I have for bold peated, and I don't have anything really strong in the cabinet that's kind of a similar. I do have this bottle of Ardbeg Uigeadail at 54%, so it's a little less. But this has I think a mix of older sherry, new sherry, ex-sherry, and a bit of ex-bourbon. So it's got a lot more in its casking history. So this really isn't a good comparison, but let's see what you get. It's interesting that usually Ardbeg, I'm going to talk about, that aggressive smoke. And not aggressive smoke, but like a lot of campfire, lean into that. But right now, it's a nice nose, approachable, good smoke. Already getting a little bit of really dark, deep fruit mixed into that. Far more enjoyable nose. On the palate. It is both more lively and fresh in the palate and bolder on the finish than the Finlaggan. This is, to me, in the palate, I do get an incredible interplay between some thick fruit, old fig type, prune type, something dark and mealy. But then I also get some clear caramel through there, which is interesting. And then the finish to me goes black, like a little edge of tar. But I know that sounds bad, but a good tar, and a chewy, like into the oak. Like this is a dram that I could. I'm so glad I poured it as a comparison, because when we get off the video, I'll get a chance to finish this. Uigeadail for me is a monster. It's just a monster. That's an easy 4.5 or more stars. Like, it's just that good. I continue to just love it. Coming back to the Finlaggan, it is far more one-dimensional on its peat. But let's try with a little bit of water. Let it sit for a moment. As the sun comes out, boy, it was really cold, like below zero still, but it's a sun deck, so it gets warm out here. I'll let the water sit on Finlaggan. As I come back to it, you wonder, well, what distillery is it? And there's a lot of chatter. Maybe it's a really young Lagavulin. Maybe it's Kalila. What's the other one? I can't remember. My vote is mixed. I feel like it's Kalila. I think they produce the kind of volume you would want to work with an independent bottler. The smoke characteristics I can align with Kalila, but the ash, the body of the peat I struggle with. And so then I've read some people say, well, maybe it's aged in a reused Lagavulin cask. Yeah, well, maybe. I have no idea what this is. I will say, water's improved the nose. I get a honey quality that's coming up that I enjoy on the palate. Water didn't do the palate any favors. It's now bitter, sharp. All I'm getting is peat. And spice, I like spice, but here it just bites. So we've got bite, bitter, smoky palate now. Obviously everyone to their own. Water really improved the nose, opened it up, gave me a few layers, destroyed the palate for me. So I won't be watering this when I do enjoy it because I don't mind it. Right out of the cask, right out of the bottle. I don't know if it says cask strength, but at 58%, I'd rather take smaller drinks and enjoy that oily texture than to get what I'm getting with some water. Thanks for staying with me, just for pouring a dram, sipping out here. Hope you guys have a great week.